Shooter, ready, stand by.
Hey, how's it going? Welcome to Black Hat. Today we're going to try something a little different. I'm recording from a different location, hopefully to get better sound quality, and then also just so the background isn't as boring as it's been in previous videos. So what we're talking about today is going to be the KKM barrel for the Glock 19 and Glock 45. So essentially what it is it is a more accurate aftermarket barrel for the Glock 19 and Glock 45. And in this particular case, mine is threaded, so I can put their 4-port compensator on it. So I've had the barrel and compensator for about a month now, and I've shot about 1,000 rounds through it. I've done 2 competitions with it so far, and it's shot absolutely great. The reason I got it is I was getting a little tired of dealing with the cleaning schedule on my Congo 17, and I was wondering if there's any way to get better performance out of a compensated Glock, specifically for the competitions that I'm doing. So if you're anything like me, who's been on the internet for a while and are familiar with the Glock 19, you're probably familiar with the idea of a Roland special. And essentially what that is you take a compact handgun, particularly your Glock 19, put that extended barrel on it. You take your stock Glock 19, and if you have the X300 weapon light, you have all this extra space that's not being used. So what do? You might as well just throw on that extra compensator and that extra barrel life just to get even more performance out of it. What this does essentially is brings it out to roughly the length of a Glock 34. However, I find that this recoils better than a Glock 34, as do most people, and that's why this is so common. One thing that you may know if you are familiar with the Roland special idea is when you're firing a Glock with a compensator, you're changing the weight of the slide. That's going to affect how your gun actually mechanically functions. A lot of people will recommend swapping out your recoil spring. However, KKM themselves specifically says to use the same factory spring until you run into issues. I'm roughly 1,000 plus rounds in, and I haven't had any issues with the stock Glock 45 spring, and I'm sure I could push it up, push it down, but right now I'm getting the performance that I want out of this, and it's running reliably, which is really all you can ask for, especially in a competition environment where having a reliable gun is probably one of the more important factors. I think anyone who's used these will immediately notice the difference, especially compared with a stock Glock slide, especially with a stock Glock barrel. The accuracy right off the bat, for the most part, not a lot of people are out shooting a Glock in terms of accuracy. However, specifically for me, I notice it at distance, that I'm definitely making hits that I wouldn't have usually been getting. And then also that big old compensator, those big old ports right there are just they're putting in absolute work. And I find that my return to my point of aim is very, very fast after I fire with those big old compensators. Due to me using that X300, my Safariland holster for the Glock 17 works perfectly fine, even though this is a Glock 34 length slide now with that compensator. There's a plug in the base that all you do is you just pull that out, and now your compensator can fit perfectly into your slide, into your holster, without needing to buy a new holster. You could for a Glock 34, but generally, because the longest part of this firearm is that X300 light, it's going to fit most holsters that are made for an X300. And on top of that, it's just using a stock Glock 45 slide, so you're not getting any weird protrusions or anything along those lines. So price-wise, right off the bat, this costs roughly $300, which I think is fairly fair for what you're getting out of this. That includes the barrel as well as the compensator. I would say generally that KKM is widely regarded as the best aftermarket Glock barrels that you can get in terms of accuracy. And I'll pull up some quick little photos on the screen right now, but I definitely noticed an increase of accuracy even over a stock Gen 5 Glock 45 barrel, which is already pretty accurate. This is an even more accurate barrel. All these groups are shot at 15 yards just because that's roughly what I feel comfortable shooting at before things that I'm doing start to factor in rather than just the mechanical accuracy of the barrel itself. This will be a quick little accuracy demonstration at about 15 yards. First up is going to be the KKM barrel. And then swapping over, this is going to be the Ape Defense Congo 17 slide. So you can see right here, this is my point of aim up on top. These aren't quite zeroed yet. You can see how tight that KKM group is versus here on the right side, you can see that Congo 17, much larger group, as well as getting those flyers out there due to that ported barrel. So for actually installing this, you're going to pull the slide off. You're going to pull your old factory barrel out or whatever barrel you're using previously. You're going to put the KKM Precision barrel in, and then what you're going to do, put the recoil spring back in, put it back on your slide. Then pull the slide forwards, and what you're going to do is pull this back roughly like that, and you're going to slowly thread that compensator on until it is roughly this far away from your slide. Then you're going to tighten your set screws all the way. Do not use Loctite. People will say to use Loctite, however KKM specifically asks or suggests to not use any Loctite, as it makes it much harder to remove the barrel, and even from what I've noticed over about 1,000 rounds of pretty rough use, these haven't come loose at all, and they don't show any signs of coming loose. If I were really to have any complaints, it would be the fact that you have to remove that compensator from the barrel if you want to fully strip the slide. That's not necessarily an issue with cleaning, as you can get up on the top here and in the slide here, and when you just pull the whole thing apart, you can reach the inside from underneath. However, that does mildly bug me, but not nearly enough to offset the benefit that this provides. One thing I do really like about that barrel is it is that sort of stainless steel color, which is really good for cleaning, so you can see how dirty your piece actually is. Overall, for roughly $300, I think that this is probably one of the best upgrades that you can possibly do for a Glock. They make these in all sizes, from the 19s up to the 17s as well. So if you have one of those too, and you're just kind of sitting around and you want to add a bit of life back into it, I'd 100% say go with something like this. It's way cheaper than getting a dedicated ported slide like the Congo 17 slide, and you can easily just revert back to your original Glock by throwing in your old factory barrel. You'll notice this is very similar to the Congo 17. Clearly I have an affinity towards compensated Glocks. However, I find that this is a much softer, noticeably better recoiling option than the Congo 17 slide. Whether that is due to just the absolute weight of this compensator, that's a very heavy chunk of metal out there, but it also has 4 ports. You have your 2 on the top and then 2 on each side. And all of those combined, it is very, very noticeable how much reduced your recoil is, especially when you're firing those higher power factor ammunition loads. Ready?
Stand by.
So to conclude, I think that the KKM barrel and their 4-port compensator are absolutely fantastic products, and specifically for me, I know that I'm going to be shooting this for a long time. This upcoming weekend I have a match, and then up into the future this is probably going to be my go-to sidearm. I usually carry Glock 17s in 2-gun competitions, and due to this also fitting in the holster, I'm going to throw this bad boy in there and we'll run those in 2-gun competitions as well. Thanks for watching Black Cat. Hopefully this change of environment leads to a better video, and please let me know in the comments, and it really helps me out if you guys can like and subscribe just to push my channel out there and help me grow. Thank you very much and have a good one.